picture of a pretty little miss. Someday, mister, I'm gonna lead a better life than this, working on the highway.
Back here, WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station. Let's go out to the phones right now as we welcome in the always talented man from 106.7, the fan of the LeVar and Dukes show, and that's Chad Dukes. Chad, Zach Gelb here at Temple Sports Hour. How are you?
Zach, what's up, buddy? Good to talk to you.
Well, it's great to talk to you. I always see you each and every year down at the Super Bowl. I know you're doing great. I was talking to you off the air, but how's your buddy LeVar Arrington doing?
He is doing just fine. He's on Inside the NFL practically every week now on Showtime. He's got clothing lines. He's got TV shows. The guy's just blowing up left and right. I couldn't be more happy for him.
So he's busy. That's why he doesn't return my phone calls. He doesn't want to come on during Penn State week, doesn't want to come on during this week, and I have to go to you.
Well, I don't think he saw how hard you work on Radio Row in the Super Bowl. Maybe that's what it is.
No, well, it's a joke. I worked right next to the guy for the last 2 years. He can't return a phone call. I actually think this is what the reason is. I had a Penn State player, O.J. McDuffie, on, and we had a very heated interview about the whole Jerry Sandusky, Joe Paterno incident, and it almost came to the point where McDuffie almost hung the phone up on me. So I'll say this. I just don't think anyone at Penn State likes me these days.
Well, it's very difficult to try to be someone that's not inside the influence of Penn State and relate to what people say from Penn State that went there. I went through that whole process when the Sandusky crap was breaking down. You're hearing all these horrible details, and then it sounds like people are defending them. It's tough to digest, so I understand what you're talking about.
Well, I read something this week that Mike Shanahan got his passport and cash stolen. Is that true? Did you steal his passport?
I did not know, but it's funny. Like, what is Mike Shanahan doing in Pittsburgh with his passport and $3,000 cash? It's a fun radio segment just to try to hypothesize what he was up to.
It's just like nothing goes right for the Redskins these days.
Well, I mean, I would have to. I'm very critical of them. I tend to agree. There's all kinds of injuries. I still think Griffin III has superstar potential in this league. It looks like Alfred Morris is going to pan out at the running back position, but you're right. There's not very much right going on with this team.
And you see RG3, what's impressed you the most about this guy? The Heisman Trophy winner has been unbelievable.
He really has. He struggled over the past couple weeks. He probably had his worst week as a pro against Carolina before the bye. Was not very accurate. I still think he has a little bit of learning to do on when to slide, when to run out of bounds, and not to take hits. But you got to be impressed with the poise that he's at, especially coming into a team that has the injuries that the Redskins do.
Not just him, but there's been a plethora of rookies this year that have looked impressive. Andrew Luck, Ryan Tannehill. I know he didn't play that great last night. The rookie quarterbacks in this league that makes a bright future for the NFL.
It's weird, right? It kind of started with Roethlisberger, and then you had Flacco, who I'm not really sold on, and Matt Ryan, and then you saw Dalton last year. It just seems to me that the learning curve is the nature of college football and the offense they're running. I don't know if it's the fact that they're more like the pros or that the pros are borrowing from the college ranks at this point, like what Kyle Shanahan's doing here in D.C., but it does seem like rookie quarterbacks can have more of an impact immediately.
I was talking with Peter King last week. If the season was to end today, you would have Peyton hosting Andrew Luck in Denver. That would be unbelievable. You have Brady Luck this week. So that Colts-Patriot rivalry is not dying down whatsoever with Brady and Luck squaring off on Sunday.
It's crazy, right? Like, that worked out for both of them. I was one of those people that was just absolutely killing Irsay and the Colts, and, Peyton Manning is the Indianapolis Colts. You can't let go of him, and I was happy to see him be successful in Denver, but Luck looks every bit his successor now this early on. It's just wild that it seems to have worked out for both teams.
Zach Gelb here, WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station, talking to Chad Dukes from 106.7 The Fan. Eagles square off against the Washington Redskins this Sunday, and the Eagles will be starting Nick Foles. What do you like against him going up against this Redskins defense?
Well, I was just actually talking about this on our show yesterday. I like Foles in this matchup. The Redskins are terrible against rookie quarterbacks. They're terrible at home, and Mike Shanahan's been 0-2 coming out of the bye as a Washington Redskins head coach. Look, I don't think Foles is going to be extraordinary, and he doesn't need to. Our defense is such a disaster. Our secondary is so atrocious that all they really have to do is put the ball in the hands of their playmakers. And I actually think the Eagles will probably be better against this Redskins team with Foles in there rather than Vic, just because the Redskins at times have been able to turn over their opponents and turn those turnovers into points. Vic probably would have given those opportunities, but if they come out with a conservative game plan for Foles, get the balls in the hands of Macklin and Jackson and McCoy, I like the Eagles' chances in this one, I'm sorry to say.
Call me crazy, but I'm the complete antithesis. I like the Redskins in this game because the Eagles' offensive line stinks. You could put me and you out there, Chad, and we'll find a way to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, but the problem is the Redskins can't sack anybody. I think they've had one sack over the past 3 weeks, and it came off was a wide receiver pass play, and Ryan Kerrigan just kind of fell on top of them. So it's bad pass protection and a bad pass rush in this matchup. It should be scintillating.
Can you see LeSean McCoy's production go up this week? You have a rookie quarterback in there. They haven't really run the ball a lot this year with the Eagles, which is so confusing to me. You have one of the best running backs in the league, and you can't even utilize him.
Yeah, it's wild, right? Like, I would say McCoy is your best player. I want that guy touching the ball 35 times a game, kind of like a Marshall Falk type scenario. I don't see him running the ball well against the Redskins because they're very good against the run. But screen passes, bubble screens, him going out in the slot, things like that. I don't know if they'd work him into end arounds. Any type of scenario where you can put the ball in his hands, I think he will have success if he can get through that initial line as a receiver, just because the Redskins have given up so many big plays through the air this year.
The big talk in this town has been Andy Reid. Every single person wants him out here. We get callers day after day after day saying, fire Andy Reid. What's your take on the Eagles head coach?
I don't understand that. Like, I understand after, what has it been, 13 seasons, 14 seasons, at some point, professional players should stop responding when a head coach has been there that long. But if Foles comes in here, he wins this game, and looks like he has some promise. Mike Vick's not going to be there next year. And I think Andy Reid has been looking for that traditional pocket quarterback his entire career. And you look at the success that Feely had, and these are lesser quarterbacks, Coy Detmer, guys like that. If he can have success with those guys, I don't know. I think you give him a shot with Foles. Just the sentiment I get from Philadelphia's fans, at least, is they've just had it with this guy, and it doesn't matter. They want him gone.
I'm an outsider. I'm from New York, but it's ridiculous the amount of they hate Andy Reid here. They can't stand Donovan McNabb, what he did. And I'm sitting there saying, look at Chad Dukes. He would die to get good years out of Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's just funny because you take it for granted. Like, the Philadelphia Eagles were in contention for the division and the playoffs and in the playoffs for a decade under Andy Reid. And I guess your success, if the bar gets raised, we're dealing with that with the Capitals down here if they ever play hockey again. People are pissed off. The Capitals are making the playoffs each and every year. They win their division each and every year, but it's not good enough. I kind of get it, but I guarantee the second Andy Reid gets fired, his cell phone is going to be buzzing off the hook.
And also, your Capitals lost to my Rangers this year, which was also fantastic.
All right. Keep gloating about New York teams in Philadelphia, Zach.
I'm like Sid Rosenberg, the guy that we always broadcast next to down on Radio Row. He does that New York stuff in Florida.
Of course he does. I was out in Phoenix, Arizona doing radio, and Gambo and Ash, John Gambadoro would talk about the Jets and the Yankees each and every day in Phoenix, Arizona. It drove me up the wall.
Well, with Andy Reid, here's why I think he's going to be done at the end of the year. The owner has too much respect to fire him during the season, but he really lost this locker room. You hear all this dynasty talk. They haven't even won a Super Bowl, and you hear dynasty talk. Deshaun Jackson, he's a loudmouth. Jason Babin rips the fans. There's just too much going on with this team. They got to shut their mouths.
It's just funny because they went and they stole a book out of the Redskins, stole a page out of the Redskins book where they went out and, they broke the bank. They brought in all the big names. They brought in all the hired guns.
And it's failed.
It didn't work for the Redskins, and it didn't work for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's just not how you build a team.
You can catch LeVar and Dukes each and every weekday from 2 to 7 on 106.7 The Fan. Great job that those guys do. We're talking to Chad Dukes. Chad, 2 more questions right before we let you go. One player that doesn't get a whole lot of mention here nationally for the Redskins that has been impressive this year has been your running back, Alfred Morris.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been one of those gems that Mike Shannon. Give Mike Shannon his credit. He hasn't done a lot right since he's been here, but what he can do is find late-round steals at the running back position. Orlandis Gary, Mike Anderson, the list goes on and on of guys that he plugged in there after Terrell Davis was over, and he found his guy here in D.C. He looks like he has a Rookie of the Year candidate on his hands.
Before we let you go, you talk to some of the best callers in the D.C. area each and every day. Give me what the D.C. caller sounds like right now about this Redskins team.
I tell you what, it's strange because they're still optimistic, and it sounds odd because they've just not been playing well, but what are they, 2 back from the New York Giants at this point? They have all these divisional games left on the schedule. If they lose to the Eagles this weekend, I absolutely am sure that the tide will turn. It will be all hellfire and brimstone. But right now, I would say they are cautiously optimistic about this matchup.
So are the fans you think are in support? Do they approve of what Mike Shanahan's doing?
Man, that's tough. I think that they're scared to lose Shanahan, so they're in a little bit of denial at just how poor he's been his first 3 seasons here in the NFL, if that makes sense.
Chad, great job as always. See you this year down in New Orleans. You guys will be there at the Super Bowl, right?
Absolutely, each and every year. Look forward to it, buddy.